Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we are going to learn how we can build or we can work with login around ASP.NET Core. So by the end of the video, you'll be able to work with structure login with ASP.NET Core. So we are going to utilize a lot of packages, and when we are going to learn the best practice and how we can do login with something like Seq, and then we'll be using the Serilog to make sure that we have a structured login. A structured login is a way where we are putting our login in a form of data so that we can go in there, and then in the structured way we can use it to make the decision to check how our application is doing, if there is an error, and then we can use that to improve the application. So in this video, we are going to build a simple web API, and then we work with login, and then we implement all the best practice. So if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe to this YouTube channel for us, and don't forget to hit the notification button so that anytime we drop a new video, you may receive a notification. And like, comment, and share this video with others so that they can also benefit from this wonderful content. And thank you everyone for supporting CliffTech. So let's get started. To get started in today's video, I'm going to use Visual Studio to create a project. And what I have here is that I'm going to create a project web API, ASP.NET Core web API, and then we work from it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a project right here, and I'm going to use this template called ASP.NET Core web API, which is a template that comes with weather forecast web API, which you can use to test your application. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go next right here, and I'm going to choose where I want to put this, and then I'm going to give the application a name. So you can name it whatever you want. So I'm going to give it a name that's structure login.net 9. So we can make it like .net 9 so that it will be nice right here. So now we can go ahead and hit create, and this will create the project for us. So Visual Studio is going to bootstrap the project for us so that we are going to have a default weather forecast web API. So this is what we have right here, and this is the default web API we have. And if we want to start with login, let's run this application and let's see something right here. So if you run your web API here in Visual Studio or .NET CLI using Visual Studio Code or something is going to show in your terminal here. So if I bring my terminal right here, you see that this is a login. So when you run your ASP.NET Core web application or web API, the terminal is giving you a certain info login, which is telling you where the port that the application is running on, the hosting environment, and everything. So this is a login information for you to see where your application is running. So when you are working on a production web API, you might structure the login so that you can use it to make a decision. You can even turn it to be a data. So we are going to work on how you can use the login to be a file. We can then console, or write to a file so that it will be some kind of JSON file that you can use to make your decision. So to do that, the first thing that we need to do around the ASP.NET Core is that we need to install some packages that we are going to use. So that is the first step that we need to do right now, is that we go here and say that we want to manage NuGet. So we want to manage NuGet right here, and then we go in and say browse. And the first thing that we want to install, which is the main backbone or the backbone of the login process, is what we call the Serilog, right? So the Serilog is what we are going to use here. So we are going to search for Serilog like ASP.NET Core, and this is going to show up with all of this one. And then we are going to search for the ASP.NET Core one, which is this one, and then we are going to use that one. And then the next thing that we need to install, which we are going to work, is what we call Seq. So Seq is also a way that it can help you to do more diagnosed, or it can help you to debug or read the structure login file. So we are going to install Seq, but here we are going to install what we call the syncs, right? So we are going to see that Serilog like this. So Serilog, and then we have the sync. So we need this, and then we see that we want to install sync. So Seq is also a way that it can help us, and I'm going to show you how you can work with Seq. And so basically, when we talk of structure logging, we are saying that you can decide where you want to write to. So we can have a whole database taking care of our login, so that whenever there is a login, we store that one in a certain database, and later on we can then retrieve it or something like that. We can remove it to archive, but we can also use Seq, and we can also write them as far. So when we have the sync, we can also install the sync file, which means that it can also help us to write our login in the file, so that we can then have output on your application where it gives us the login in the file format, right? So when we do that, let's open the application and see what we have. So we have these packages, and basically this is the packages that we need to work with this video, or to work with login. So the first thing that we need to do is that we go to our program.cs right here, and we are going to copy all of this thing. And it may be in your production grade application, you are not going to do this, but we just want to test this, so we are going to do this. And the first thing is that we are going to say that try. So we are going to use some kind of try catch format here, so that whenever there is an issue, we'll be able to catch it, and then we log it. So that all this thing is for us to test how our login process is going to work. So we are putting all the code in the try, and then we have catch, and we have final. We are going to work on it. So the first thing is that we want to log something when the application starts, to see that if our login is working. So we are going to bring log from the Seq. So here, and then we are saying that we want to log in information. So we want to log in information and say that the application is starting up, right? So this will be in our terminal. So when we run the application, this is going to show in our terminal that the application is running. So the next thing that we want to do here too is that we then want to go here, and then we want to say that we want to also log whenever there is an error coming in. So we see that log, and then we are going to bring something what we call the filter. This one is also coming from here. So whenever there is some kind of failure, we then trying to then log that to the console, and this is going to happen in our console. So let's go also log this right here, and then we see that you clear. So we close, and then we push. So this is something that we are going to do. So we close everything at the end. So basically this is what we have, and then this is what we used to have in our terminal. So this is the default kind of logs that we have. So now let's rerun the application and see. So let's bring the terminal right here and see how it's going to look like. So we don't have our thing working. So let's close everything like this and rerun the application again. So let's see, because if everything is working, we need to get the application is starting at the point which we have in here. So we don't have it, which is not something we want. So the next thing that we want to do, you see, we don't have this. Now we have configured everything, but it's not working. Why? Because we need to create some kind of extension class, and then we register our login process in there. We can put all of them here, but I want to put it into extension class. So in .NET we say that we can then go ahead and create another class here that we're going to call it application service. So let's call it application service. So you see that application service. So this is application service right here, And this is supposed to, you know, when you are creating an extension method or extension class in ASP.NET Core, is supposed to be a static class. So let's go ahead and say that static class right here, and then in here I'm going to say that public static class void. So here we are going to give it a name that configure login, so something like that, and then we don't want what this Copilot is giving us. So this is the main method that we have in here, and so we are going to utilize what we call the iHost builder coming from ASP.NET Core, and we are going to say that this is going to be a host. So let's give it something like host. So we have this right here, and now we can go ahead and then register our login. So we're going to say that this, and so we use Serilog. So we're going to say that use Serilog, and I think it's coming. So this is it. And then when we have this one here, what we are going to do is that we're going to put this in. We can say that CT, you can give it whatever you want, but I want to name it like this. So CT something like that, and then we see that we want it to have this kind of score to this, and then let's have LC right here, and this should wrap up like this. So make sure to wrap this up like this right here, and then let's see that we want it something like this. Also, let's check it what. So this right here, we need to make sure that, and then we bring this one. Okay, so now when we have this, what we do is that we're going to see that we then we're going to register. So now we have access to the, we need to make sure we have this one here. So we then put this to LC, and then now we have the LC, which is then that I'm going to write to. So the write to is where we want the console to be, like where we want the log to be. So first of all, we want to output everything into the console. So something like this, we want to output everything something to the console for now. So let's try to do this right here. So this is the first step that we are trying to put everything. Now what we are doing is very simple. We are using the iHost builder right here so that we can then register this in our program.cs, and then we are using this coming from the Serilog, and then it's a login provider that can help us. So this is then helping us to write our login into where we want it to be. So we can decide to write it into a file, we can decide to write it to Seq. So this is helping us to do that. So this, in the form, we can say that this is helping us to decide the output where we want our login to go, our login file or details. So the first one is that we want to log it in the console. So the thing is that let's go ahead and register this in our program.cs, so that we'll be having access to our login, so that we can see something wonderful in our terminal. So the next thing that we want to do is that we are going to say builder right here, and then we are going to say host. So this is host, and then we are going to say that we are going to paste in this one here, and then we are going to say that we want to close this right here and this, and let's make sure to import this coming in. So let's use this. So this is not what we want, so let's try to do this coming in. Okay, so now we have this coming in right here. So we have registered that the extension class that we created here in our program.cs. So now let's go ahead and rerun the application and see that if the login, now you can see that we have this coming in, and then you see that the application is listing on a certain port, right? So this is listing on a certain port like that. So this is listing on a port, so it means that the login process is now working, and then you can see that the application started. So we can then try to close it, and then you can see that now we are having some kind of a better login process, as we compare to the one that we used to have initially. So for us to get more information on how the application is working, we can then go in here and do something better here at the top. So this one, you can see this is not coming in. And why is it that it's not coming in? So let's do this thing. Let's write this. So now this thing is not coming because when we want to see some kind of login in our terminal here, that whenever we run the application, saying that the application is starting, right? So there is something we call the logger configuration, which we need to instantiate that one right now so that we be able to get some kind of. So to do that, I'm going to say the log right here, and then you can see the Copilot is trying to suggest this one for us. So create logger right here will help us to create some kind of logger whenever the application is running, right? So we are trying to instantiate this when the program.cs load, and then it will take this login so that we see that one in the console, and then we are writing that one into the console right here, and this is very beautiful. So let's run application again. Now let's see if we have everything. So now you can see we have starting up. The application is coming as you compare to the one that we used to have the initial. So this is very beautiful. And now, so let's go to our API right here, and let's go to our controller. So what I'm going to do is that this is a weather forecast web API, so we can make a lot of requests right here, and we can decide to log some kind of stuff. So I'm going to write another APIs, and then we are going to use this to make a request. So we are going to make all the requests in our Visual Studio. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to bring in some kind of APIs right here. So, or we can go ahead and create a different API. So to do that, first of all, let's start adding a login here, and we already have the iLogger right here. So what we are going to do is that we can then go ahead here and then say that whenever we start the application, we want to log in some kind of information. And this is how mostly you do maybe you're logging in ASP.NET Core. So whenever we make a request, you can see that getting the weather forecast login supposed to come in, and when everything goes like that, we can then also do some login right here and saying that we log information getting weather forecast. So we want to make it very nice, so we can say that getting weather forecast, we want it to be like this. So because weather forecast is coming from in here, so let's check when we have weather forecast, which is the range. So we can then go ahead and say that we want to be const, and then we want this weather forecast to be in this kind of variable, or we can say var like that, and then it's called to this. So when we get this, we log that, and then when that one finish, we want to also log information and say that getting the method, and then when it's done, we return the weather forecast coming in here. So this is kind of a login process that we have in here. So when we make a request, you see something beautiful in the console or something like that. So let's run this application right here, and now when you go here, you see that the login is working, and then in our terminal we are seeing a lot of stuff. So let's zoom in a bit so that you see. So now I'm going to make a request right here. So we are going to make a request, and this, you can make a request in your Visual Studio. So let's make a lot of requests, and now let's go and bring in our console. So you can see that we are getting some kind of a login information, a structured login coming in. So the login that we started, so getting a weather forecast, and then you see that generate weather forecast structure login, and then this login message, and then you are getting information. So we can see request finish, so the seconds that you took, that everything you can see. So this is a structure login. So this is telling us how the application is working, how things are going, and how everything is working. And this is a very nice way of doing this thing. So to do that, I'm going to add some kind of a lot of controller coming in, which is more related to the weather forecast. So offline I added more controller, endpoint. So we added endpoints where it can help us to add something. We added endpoints where it can help us to get a certain date. So if you want to learn how to build an API with the ASP.NET Core, I have a lot of video here in this YouTube channel that you can go through and then learn how to build an API. So the goal here is to learn how we can structure login with ASP.NET Core. So now we have all of these things, and I have added all the login that we may need. So everything is here and everything is nice. So we can then go ahead and run this application again, and then now we can make a lot of requests here. So we can make a request, send in a request, and Visual Studio is trying to generate. So the application is not running yet. So let's close everything and run the application again. So let's run the application again here. And let's check the terminal right here, and you see that the application is starting up. The application is working, right? So now let's send the request and see if everything works for us. So everything is not working, so let's check this one. So the port that we need to add in here should be 500. So this application works in a port of 500 instead of this. So let's change that right here, and let's save that. Let's run the application again. So now the application is running, and then you can see that everything is start. So now let's make a request. We send the request, and then this is not working. So let's run the application again. So there is a space here. Let's run this. Okay, so this should work. Okay, so now we are getting a request. Response is coming. We can make a request. We can then send a new response created. So when we check, we have make a lot of requests, and then you can see in the console we are getting all the login, and this is a structured way that is giving us all the response and how our application is doing, what is going on. So this is the structured way, and this right now we are console this into our terminal, right? But what if we want to console write to something like database or Seq, so that we can get more insight, or we can diagnose our application into a deep section. So to do that, what I'm going to do right now is that we are going to utilize a terminal like this. And then what we are going to do is that we are going to search for Seq. So Seq is something that helps you. So we can say you can search for Seq download like this, and then you'll be able to download this. You can also use Docker, so the download process is easy. You download, and then you're going to create in some kind of password and admin and everything. So this is how you do it, and you can use it in Docker and everything like that. So this is what we have already installed. We already installed this. So we go to our extension class, and now you can see here we say write to console, which is the initial one that was working. So the next thing that we want to do is that we want to write this for Seq, right? So we are going to say write to. So we are going to bring in the write to for now, and then we see that Seq. So Seq is going to come in, and then this is the port that our Seq is running on. So when we run the application and we navigate to this, we should be able to also see how the structure login look like, how things are looking like in that section. So let's run the application again, and let's go here and let's navigate to this endpoint. So this route right here is going to open some Seq for me, and then I'll log in, and then so this is Seq. I already log in. So right now, if I make a request, you see we don't have anything. The application is running. So what we have in the terminal right here is also what we have here in the Seq. So you can see it's working, but we don't have any request coming in. So let's go and make more requests. So let's go in here to our program, right? And now let's make a request. So now whatever it will write to the console, it also write to the Seq for us. So let's go and make a request. So now we have created some stuff, and let's go back and see how Seq. So let's try to also refresh, and then you can see we are getting a structure login right here also in Seq, and this can help you to debug your application, also check how things are, how your performance and everything. So Seq also help us to diagnose how our application. You can also search, so you can search most of the thing from here, and then you'll be able to utilize that. So what we are seeing here in our terminal right here, because we have already logged into our terminal, which is the console, we can also see that one in Seq. So you can read more, or you can learn more about Seq. It's very easy to set up. When you download it, you just direct your ASP.NET Core to the port that is running, and then you'll be able to see also the login coming in, so we can see the dates and the time and everything. So this is very beautiful to also use this with your structure login. So this is how we work with that. So what if you want to also write this to a file? So, and we want to have a file that can help us to also see our log. So that's one thing we can also write to a file. So it will create a certain file. You can also give it a name. You can direct it to a certain path that you want to write your log to. So that one I can also go ahead. We already the package that for that, which is the sync, we have already installed that. So we go in there and say that write to. So this is going to be write to, and then we're going to see that this is going to be file, because we want to write file. So we go in there and say that this is going to be file, and then we want to come in and say that okay, file, and then we want the file to be JSON format. So we go ahead and say that this is going to be new, and then this is going to be JSON converter. So we want to convert everything to, or we want to format everything to JSON. So JSON formatter like that. So JSON format, so let's not mind the copilot. So let's go and see that JSON so JSON formatter. Okay, so let's make sure to write it well. JSON formatter here coming in, and then this is going to be like this. So we already have this. So this coming in, and then we see that the file that we want to do is that we are going to have something we call log.ts, right? So this is going to have the extension test extension stuff, and then we do. So now what we are doing is that we have configured our structure login, first of all to log to the console, second log to the Seq, and third log into a file, a test file, which is going to be JSON format. So whenever we make a request, we are going to get our login coming in this area or these directions. So now we are here to test the test one. So let's run the application again, and now let's go and make a request. So when we run the application, you can see now we have something here called log.test, and let's make in some request. So let's make a more request. Let's go here, send a request, and this is going to work. So to do that, now let's see that this is the request that we have made, and now let's go into this file. So you can see this is also a structured file, which is also giving us more information about the logs. So this is a JSON format, and this is, we can also write our login into a file. So this is how you do it. You can go ahead and customize it and work with it a lot of more. I will make sure that the code is available on GitHub. You can pick it up and then try to work with this in the production standard. So this is a way of giving you the basic idea or the basic concept of how to work with login, and in the structure we're using Seq, and then how you can write it to a file. So I think, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with others. So I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching Clifton.